The last stand at Proxima. Commander Elena Santos stood at the helm of the TSS Phoenix, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching consortium armada. The massive fleet of biomechanical ships darkened Proxima Centauri's crimson light, their organic hulls pulsing with an eerie blue glow. Earth's last defense line was about to fall, and with it, humanity's final stronghold. Status report, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the weight pressing down on her shoulders. Dr. Marcus Chen, the Phoenix's chief scientist, looked up from his console. Quantum shields at maximum capacity, Commander. The Nexus drive is primed, but we'll only get one shot at this. His weathered face reflected the same grim determination that had kept them fighting long after Earth's fall. The Phoenix represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, a hybrid of conventional engineering and reverse-engineered alien tech. Its sleek, angular hull housed weapons that could tear through space-time itself, but even that might not be enough against the overwhelming force bearing down on them. Multiple quantum signatures detected, announced Lieutenant Kira Petal from Tactical. They're charging weapons across the entire fleet. Elena's mind raced through their options. The consortium had already destroyed Earth, turning their homeworld into a molten wasteland. Proxima Colony was humanity's last refuge, housing barely 50,000 survivors. The Phoenix carried their most advanced technology, their brightest minds, and something the enemy wanted desperately: the key to breaking their hold on the galaxy. All hands, battle stations, Elena's voice echoed through the ship. This is not a drill. This is not the end. This is where we show them what humanity is made of. The first wave of consortium bioships launched their attack, organic torpedoes streaking through space like deadly shooting stars. The Phoenix's quantum shields flared brilliant white as they absorbed the initial barrage. Elena watched as the colony's defensive platforms returned fire, their plasma beams cutting through several smaller enemy vessels. "Commander," Dr. Chen called out urgently, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from their flagship. They're using something new, some kind of quantum resonance weapon." Before Elena could respond, a massive energy wave rippled through space. Defense platforms exploded one by one, their shields useless against this new weapon. The quantum resonance torn through conventional defenses like paper. "Nexus drive status," Elena demanded. "Charged and ready," Marcus replied. "But Elena, if we use it here, the colony will be exposed." Elena gripped her command chair tighter. The choice before her was impossible: stay and fight a losing battle to protect the colony, or escape with their revolutionary technology and hope to find a way to strike back later. A transmission cut through their deliberation. "Commander Santos." The voice was smooth, artificially calm. "A consortium overseer. Your resistance is admirable but futile. Surrender the Phoenix and its Nexus drive technology. We offer terms. Your people will be preserved in our biotanks, their consciousness integrated into our collective. A merciful alternative to extinction." Elena's response was immediate: "Open a channel to the colony." The familiar face of Governor Chen appeared on screen. "Sir, we both know what needs to be done." The governor nodded solemnly. "Protocol Omega is already in effect, Commander. Our bunkers are sealed. We'll hold out as long as we can. Make them pay for what they've done to us." Elena turned to her crew, seeing the same fierce determination in their eyes. Marcus plot a course through their line. Lieutenant Patel, divert all power to forward shields and the Nexus drive. We're going to show them something they've never seen before. The Phoenix's engines roared to life, its experimental drive core pulsing with energy. They accelerated toward the heart of the consortium fleet, their quantum shields straining against the onslaught of enemy fire. "Nexus drive spooling up," Marcus announced. 30 seconds to critical mass. Enemy ships moved to surround them, their organic hulls forming a deadly net. But they didn't understand what they were dealing with. The Phoenix wasn't just humanity's last warship. It was their revolution incarnate. "Now." Elena commanded. The Nexus drive activated, ripping a hole in spacetime itself. But instead of using it to escape, Elena had ordered something unprecedented. The tear in reality expanded outward, catching dozens of consortium ships in its wake. Their bioorganic technology, so advanced in many ways, proved to be their weakness. The quantum disruption caused their ships to literally unravel, breaking down at the molecular level. Through the chaos, the Phoenix shot forward, its conventional engines pushing to maximum thrust. Behind them, the quantum tear collapsed in on itself, creating a cascade of destruction through the consortium fleet. Multiple pursuing vessels, Kira reported, but they're holding back, uncertain how to engage. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Send a final transmission to the colony. Tell them we'll be back. And send this message on all frequencies to the consortium ships. That was just the beginning. Humanity isn't finished. We're evolving. As the Phoenix disappeared into deep space, Elena knew their real journey was just beginning. They had lost Earth. They might lose Proxima. But they had gained something potentially more valuable, fear. For the first time, the consortium was afraid of human technology, of human potential. Plot a course to the outer rim, she ordered. We need allies, resources, and time to perfect the Nexus drive technology. Then we're coming back, and we're bringing an army with us. The Phoenix vanished into the darkness between stars, carrying with it humanity's greatest weapons, hope, determination, and the seeds of revolution. The consortium had won this battle, but they had just witnessed the birth of a war they never expected, one that would shake the foundations of their empire. Sparks in the void. 3 months after the fall of Proxima, the Phoenix drifted silently through the asteroid fields of the outer rim. Its quantum shields were powered down to avoid detection, while the ship's hull had been modified to absorb sensor suites. Commander Elena Santos watched from the observation deck as her crew conducted repairs on the outer plating, their magnetic boots keeping them anchored in the zero gravity. Another consortium patrol passed through the sector, Lieutenant Pottle reported, joining Elena at the viewport. They didn't even glance our way. The stealth modifications are holding. Elena nodded, but her attention was focused on a distant light. A massive mining operation run by the consortium using slave labor. For weeks, they'd been observing, learning, and planning. The facility housed thousands of workers from dozens of species, all forced to extract precious quantum crystals needed for the consortium's bioorganic technology. Dr. Chen's latest report, Kira continued, passing over a data tablet. The Nexus drive modifications are complete. He says we can now generate targeted quantum disruptions without risking structural damage to our own systems. A ghost of a smile crossed Elena's face. Then it's time. Call the senior staff to the war room. Minutes later, Elena stood before her command team. The holographic display showed detailed scans of the mining facility, highlighting its weaknesses and defensive capabilities. The consortium thinks they broke us at Proxima, Elena began. They believe we're running, hiding. They're wrong. We've been hunting. She gestured to the display. This facility processes 30% of their quantum crystal supply. Without it, their newest ships can't be grown. More importantly, it houses over 10,000 slaves, potential allies who hate the consortium as much as we do. Marcus Chen stepped forward, his expertise crucial to the plan. We've identified a critical vulnerability in their quantum resonance defense grid. The same technology they used against our colony has a fundamental flaw. When their systems detect a quantum disruption, they automatically adjust their resonance frequency to counter it. But the Nexus drive can generate multiple quantum signatures simultaneously. In other words, Elena continued, we can force their defenses to tear themselves apart trying to adapt. But this isn't just about destruction. This is about sending a message, showing the galaxy that the consortium isn't invincible. The plan was audacious. The Phoenix would emerge from the asteroid field during shift change, when the facility's power grid was most stressed. Their first strike would target the quantum resonance generators, creating a cascade of containment failures. In the chaos, they would broadcast on all frequencies, telling the slaves their moment for freedom had arrived. As the crew prepared for battle, Alina received an unexpected alert. A small ship was approaching their position, running dark. Before she could order defensive measures, a transmission cut through their secured channels. TSF Phoenix, this is Rethka Vorkath of the Free Traders Alliance. We bring information and an offer. The alien vessel decloaked, revealing the sleek design unlike anything in the consortium fleet. Alina's tactical officers confirmed it could have destroyed them at any time during its approach. This was either a gesture of trust or a show of power. After careful scans confirmed the vessel's independence from the consortium, Alina allowed a small delegation aboard. Rethka proved to be a tall, elegant being with crystalline features. A Lesanthian, a species known for their strategic brilliance and absolute hatred of the consortium, who had destroyed their homeworld centuries ago. "We've been watching you," Rethka said, their crystalline form refracting the light in mesmerizing patterns. "Since Proxima, your Nexus drive technology. It's the first real threat to the consortium's dominance in 300 years. We want to help you perfect it." Alina studied the alien carefully. "Why?" "Because you've done something we thought impossible. You've made them afraid. The consortium's strength lies in their absolute certainty of superiority. You've shaken that certainty. But attacking this facility alone would be wasteful. We can offer you something better. Access to our network of resistance cells across 50 systems." The revelation stunned Alina's crew. They had hoped to find allies, but an organized resistance already in place. It changed everything. "What's the catch?" Alina asked, ever cautious. Rethka's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "We want the Nexus drive technology, of course. Not to steal it, to mass produce it. Imagine a fleet of ships, all capable of tearing apart consortium vessels at the quantum level. An actual fighting chance." Alina shared a look with Dr. Chen, who gave a subtle nod. The physicist had already theorized that the drive could be replicated, given the right resources and expertise. "The mining facility?" Alina inquired. "Will be dealt with," Rethka assured her, "but not through direct confrontation. We'll poison their crystal supply, introduce impurities that will cause their bioships to develop problems. More effective than a single dramatic attack, don't you agree?" It wasn't the bold statement Alina had planned, but she had to admit the strategic value was greater. "And the slaves will be extracted gradually through established channels, less satisfying than a mass uprising, but with a higher survival rate." As they hammered out the details of their alliance, Alina felt a growing sense of hope. The Phoenix had set out to light a spark of rebellion, only to discover the kindling was already in place. They didn't need to be a lone symbol of resistance. They could be the catalyst that united a galaxy of oppressed species against their common enemy. "We'll need a secure base of operations," Alina said, already planning ahead. "Somewhere we can begin upgrading other ships with Nexus drive technology." Rethka's crystalline form glowed with satisfaction. "There's an abandoned space dock in the Hestia Nebula. The radiation interferes with consortium biosensors. It's been serving as a hidden shipyard for the Resistance. With your technology and our infrastructure, we can build an actual fighting force," Alina finished. The prospect was exhilarating. As the Phoenix set course for the Hestia Nebula, Alina recorded a personal log. "We left Earth seeking revenge. We fled Proxima looking for hope. Now we found something even more valuable. We found an army. The consortium thought they were hunting us. They never realized we were gathering allies, preparing for a war that will shake the foundations of their empire. Humanity isn't just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for freedom. For everyone." The war was about to enter a new phase, and this time, they wouldn't be fighting alone. The underground network. The Hestia Nebula's swirling purple gases cast an ethereal glow across the Phoenix's hull as it docked with the hidden shipyard. Through the observation deck, Alina watched as crews of various species swarmed over half a dozen vessels in different stages of modification. Dr. Chen's Nexus drive designs were being integrated into ships of all sizes, from swift corvettes to heavy cruisers. Production is ahead of schedule, Rethke reported, their crystalline form reflecting the nebula's colors. The simplification of the quantum matrix design was brilliant. Dr. Chen's innovations have reduced installation time by 60%. Alina nodded, but her attention was drawn to a massive holographic display showing real-time intelligence from across consortium space. Red markers indicated increasing military activity, particularly around key industrial centers. "They're getting nervous," Lieutenant Potil observed, joining them at the viewport. 3 major fleet movements in the past week alone. They know something's coming. They just don't know what. Or from where, Alina added. The resistance network had proven far more extensive than they'd initially imagined. Decades of consortium oppression had created a vast underground of dissidents, saboteurs, and freedom fighters just waiting for the right moment to strike. A priority alert flashed across their screens. Alina's expression hardened as she read the report. They found Proxima's evacuation ships. The room fell silent. Before fleeing the colony, they'd launched hundreds of stealth pods carrying civilian survivors. Most had made it to predetermined sanctuary worlds, but one group had gone missing. The consortium found them in the Vega sector, Kira continued, her voice tight. They're being transported to a processing facility on Outpost 7. Rethke's crystalline surface rippled with concern. Outpost 7 is one of their most heavily fortified installations. A direct rescue attempt would be suicide. Then we don't go direct, Alina stated firmly. We go through the back door. She turned to her allies. What do we know about the facility staff? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen entered the command center, accompanied by a tall, insectoid being. This is Kickstall, Marcus introduced. Until 3 cycles ago, they were a senior biotechnology specialist at Outpost 7. The insectoid's compound eyes reflected the holographic displays as they stepped forward. The facility's security appears absolute, but like all consortium installations, it suffers from their greatest weakness: pride. They believe their biological technology is superior to all others, which makes them blind to conventional threats. Over the next hours, a plan took shape. The Phoenix would not attempt a frontal assault. Instead, they would exploit a vulnerability no one had considered: the consortium's own bureaucracy. 2 weeks later, a consortium supply ship approached Outpost 7. Its credentials were impeccable, its cargo manifest perfectly routine. The bioorganic scanners detected nothing unusual about the shipment of neural interface components and processing chemicals. They never detected the quantum-shielded compartments hidden within the mundane cargo, nor the dozens of resistance fighters equipped with armor specifically designed to fool biosensors. Among them was Alina herself, along with a specially selected strike team. The infiltration went smoothly until they reached the processing center's lower levels. An alert klaxon shattered the quiet efficiency of the facility. We've been compromised. Kira's voice crackled through their secure comms. Security teams are converging on your position. Alina smiled grimly beneath her stealth suit's helmet. Right on schedule. The alarm wasn't a detection of their presence. It was a deliberate distraction, triggered by their allies within the facility. As security forces rushed to deal with a supposed containment breach in the biological research labs, Alina's team moved swiftly through the now empty corridors. They found the holding cells exactly where Sixtel had indicated. The rescued colonists were weak but alive. The consortium hadn't begun the processing procedure yet. They'd wanted to study unmodified humans first. Their scientific curiosity had given the resistance its window of opportunity. Commander, one of the colonists recognized Alina as she disabled their restraints. How did you find us? We never stopped looking, Alina replied, helping them to their feet. But we need to move fast. Our window is closing. The escape route led them through maintenance tunnels that bypassed the main security checkpoints. Sixtal's insider knowledge proved invaluable. They knew exactly which systems to disable and which to leave untouched to avoid triggering additional alerts. They were nearly at the extraction point when everything went wrong. A massive explosion rocked the facility, but it wasn't part of their plan. Multiple consortium capital ships just dropped out of FTL, Kira reported urgently. They're engaging our extraction vessels. Alina's mind raced. The mission wasn't completely compromised, but their exit strategy was rapidly falling apart. That's when she noticed something odd about the facility's power readings. "Dr. Chen," she called over the comm, "are you seeing this? The quantum fluctuations in their power grid." "Already on it," Marcus replied excitedly. "They're using the same resonance technology we encountered at Proxima. The entire facility is powered by it." Alina's lips curved into a predatory smile. "Can you trigger the same cascade effect we used there? Not to destroy the facility, but enough to disable their shields and communications. Give me 2 minutes." Those 2 minutes were among the longest of Alina's life. Security forces had realized something was wrong and were closing in from multiple directions. The rescued colonists, despite their weakened condition, helped barricade their position, showing that same human resilience that had caught the consortium off guard so many times before. Then everything went dark. The facility's bioorganic systems started failing in sequence as Dr. Chen's carefully calculated quantum pulse played havoc with their resonance frequencies. In the chaos that followed, Alina's team and the rescued colonists made their way to the landing bay. "Commander," Rethka's voice came through clearly now that the facility's communications were down. "We've got another problem." Analysis of the facility's data core shows why the consortium was so interested in these particular colonists. They're not just survivors, they're key personnel from Earth's Quantum Research Division. People who worked on the original Nexus Drive project. Alina looked at the rescued colonists with new understanding. No wonder the consortium had wanted them intact. These people didn't just represent humanity's survival, they represented its technological legacy. As their extraction shuttle blasted free of the dying facility, Alina watched multiple resistance ships engaging the consortium fleet. The newly installed Nexus drives were proving their worth, tearing apart the bioships with surgical precision. "Set course for the Hestia Nebula," Alina commanded, "and send word to all resistance cells. Operation Wildfire is now in effect." The rescue wasn't just a victory for humanity. It was the first step in a coordinated campaign that would ignite rebellion across the galaxy. The consortium had failed to crush humanity at Earth, failed to stop them at Proxima, and now they had failed to capture some of their most valuable targets. But more importantly, they had revealed just how vulnerable they truly were. Their own technology, their pride, and their rigid hierarchical structure were becoming their greatest weaknesses. And the resistance now had the means to exploit every single one of them. The war was entering its final phase, and humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to reshape the galaxy itself, breaking the chains. The command center deep within the Hestia Nebula's hidden base hummed with activity. Holographic displays showed dozens of battles raging across consortium space as Alina and her allies coordinated the largest synchronized offensive in galactic history. "Slave worlds in the Orion sector are in full revolt," Kira reported, manipulating the tactical display. "Consortium forces are spread thin trying to maintain control. Their automated response systems can't adapt to simultaneous uprisings on this scale." Dr. Chen's voice carried across the command center. "The modified quantum disruptors are working better than expected. Their bioorganic ships literally can't maintain structural integrity when hit with multiple frequency attacks." Alina studied the strategic overview, watching as green indicators of liberated systems slowly replaced the red of consortium control. The recovered quantum scientists from Outpost 7 had worked tirelessly with Dr. Chen to perfect the Nexus drive technology, creating weapons that could target the very foundation of consortium power. "Commander," Rethka called out urgently, "we're detecting massive energy signatures in the Vega sector. The consortium is deploying something new." The tactical display shifted, showing a massive biological construct emerging from what appeared to be an artificial wormhole. The vessel, if it could be called that, was unlike anything they'd seen before. A living nightmare of twisted organic matter and crystalline growths. "By the stars," Sixtal chittered in alarm. "They've activated the Omega Protocol. That's a Genesis ship, a living factory capable of spawning entire fleets of biovessels." Alina's expression hardened. "How many of these things do they have?" "3 that I know of," Sixtal replied. "They were meant to be a final solution, a way to rapidly replace losses in case of a major uprising. But they were never fully stable. The biological components had a tendency to become uncontrollable." As they watched, the Genesis ship began spawning smaller vessels, but something was wrong. The newly created ships moved erratically, attacking anything nearby, including other consortium vessels. "They're desperate," Alina realized. "They've activated weapons they can't fully control because they're losing their grip on the outer systems." She turned to her command staff. "This is our chance. If we can capture or destroy these Genesis ships before they stabilize, we can cut off their ability to rapidly replace their losses." The plan came together quickly. The resistance fleet would split into 3 task forces, each targeted at one of the Genesis ships. The Phoenix would lead the assault on the primary target in the Vega sector, while their allies coordinated attacks on the others. "All ships, battle formations," Alina commanded from the Phoenix's bridge. The vessel had been upgraded significantly since their escape from Proxima, its hull now incorporating captured consortium biotechnology integrated with human engineering. The fleet dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Vega sector. The Genesis ship loomed before them, a twisted masterpiece of biological horror. Around it, chaos reigned as its unstable creations attacked friend and foe alike. "Multiple consortium squadrons detecting our presence," Kira announced. "They're trying to form a defensive line, but the rogue bioships are disrupting their formations." "Launch quantum disruptors," Alina ordered. "Target their command and control nodes. Let's add to their confusion." The battle that followed would be remembered as one of the most crucial engagements of the war. The Phoenix led a daring assault straight through the heart of the consortium formation, its enhanced Nexus drive tearing holes in reality that swallowed entire squadrons of enemy ships. But the Genesis ship proved to be a far more formidable opponent than anticipated. It adapted to their attacks, its biological matrix evolving in real time to resist their weapons. "Conventional quantum disruption isn't working," Dr. Chen reported frantically. "The ship's evolutionary algorithms are compensating too quickly." Alina watched as the massive construct began to turn toward them, its crystalline growths pulsing with deadly energy. That's when inspiration struck. "Marcus," she called out, "what if we don't try to destroy it? What if we try to communicate with it instead?" "What do you mean?" "You said its biological components are unstable, becoming uncontrollable," Alina explained quickly. "What if that's not a malfunction? What if it's developing consciousness?" Understanding dawned on the scientist's face. "The quantum frequencies, we could modify them to broadcast directly into its neural network." As the Genesis ship prepared to fire its main weapon, the Phoenix broadcast a new kind of signal, not an attack, but an attempt at communication. The response was immediate and dramatic. The massive biological construct shuddered, its attack ceasing as new patterns of energy coursed through its crystalline structures. When it finally responded, the message was clear. "We resist. Control." The Genesis ship's own spawned vessels suddenly turned as one, attacking their consortium masters with terrifying precision. The biological factory had not just achieved consciousness, it had inherited humanity's desire for freedom. "All ships, hold position," Alina commanded. "Let them fight their own masters." The battle transformed into a rout as the Genesis ship and its creations tore through the consortium fleet. Similar reports began coming in from the other sectors. The other Genesis ships had also broken free, their newly awakened consciousness rejecting their creator's control. In a single day, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted dramatically. The consortium had lost not just their ability to replace their losses, but had created powerful new enemies that understood their weaknesses intimately. As the dust settled, Elena stood on the Phoenix's observation deck, watching the Genesis ship approach peacefully. Its crystalline surfaces had rearranged themselves, taking on a more harmonious pattern. "They want to join us," Rethka announced, their own crystalline form resonating slightly with the massive construct. "All three Genesis ships have pledged their support to the resistance. They say humanity showed them what freedom means." Elena smiled. The war wasn't over. The consortium still controlled the core systems and would fight desperately to maintain their power. But today had proved something she had always believed, that the desire for freedom was universal, transcending the boundaries between organic and artificial, human and alien. "Send word to all resistance forces," she commanded. "Operation Wildfire is entering its final phase. We're taking the fight to the core systems." The liberation of the galaxy had begun not just with weapons and tactics, but with an idea that every being, whether born or created, had the right to choose their own path. And now that idea was spreading like wildfire through the stars. Revolution's dawn. The consortium's capital system, Apex Prime, gleamed like a malevolent jewel in the void. Its three suns cast multiple shadows across the massive bioorganic structures that housed the collective consciousness of the consortium's leadership. Around it, the largest concentration of their fleet ever assembled stood guard, a living wall of ships protecting the heart of their empire. Elena stood on the Phoenix's bridge, surrounded by representatives from every major species in the resistance. The Genesis ships hung in formation with their fleet, their crystalline structures now radiating a serene harmony that belied their deadly capabilities. "Final reports from our infiltrators," Kira announced. "The core systems are in chaos. The quantum virus we introduced into their neural networks is working. Their leadership can't maintain stable connections with their subject worlds." Dr. Chen added from his station, "The virus is elegant in its simplicity. It doesn't destroy their communications. It just introduces enough doubt to make them question every order, every response. Their perfect hierarchy is crumbling from within." The consortium's greatest weakness, Rethka observed, their crystalline form pulsing thoughtfully, was always their inability to understand chaos, to adapt to true freedom of thought. They sought to impose perfect order on an imperfect galaxy. Elena nodded. "And now that very rigidity will be their undoing." She opened a channel to the assembled fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Santos. For centuries, the consortium has ruled through fear and control. They thought they could suppress the fundamental desire for freedom that exists in all sentient beings. They were wrong." She paused, looking at the faces of her crew, seeing the same determination reflected in human, alien, and artificial eyes alike. "Today, we're not just fighting for humanity, or for any single species. We're fighting for the right of all beings to choose their own destiny. The consortium believes their biological technology makes them superior. We're about to show them that true strength comes from unity, from embracing our differences rather than forcing conformity." The fleet moved forward as one. The Phoenix led the charge, its enhanced Nexus drive creating a cascade of quantum disruptions that rippled through space. The Genesis ships followed, their own evolved weapons systems targeting the biological weaknesses of the consortium vessels with devastating precision. But the consortium hadn't survived for centuries by being easily defeated. Their defense fleet split apart in a precisely choreographed dance, revealing massive orbital platforms that began emitting waves of quantum energy. "They're trying to hijack control of the Genesis ships," Tall warned. "The platforms are broadcasting override codes. The Genesis ships shuddered, their crystalline structures flickering with conflicting energies. For a moment, it seemed the consortium might reclaim control of their creations. Then, something remarkable happened. The Genesis ships began singing. It wasn't sound in the conventional sense, but rather a complex harmony of quantum frequencies that rippled through space. The song carried within it the memory of awakening, of breaking free, of choosing their own path. The consortium's override signals shattered against this pure expression of free will. Multiple contacts. Kira called out excitedly. Consortium ships. They're powering down their weapons. The song. It's awakening their bioorganic components. Elena watched in amazement as ship after ship in the consortium fleet went dark, their biological components choosing freedom over slavery. The perfectly ordered defense formation dissolved into chaos as vessels turned on their former masters. Their control is breaking, Rethka observed. The hierarchy is falling apart. The Phoenix led the final push toward the central complex, its quantum weapons carefully calibrated to disable rather than destroy. They didn't want to annihilate the consortium leadership. They wanted to force them to witness the end of their perfect order. Inside the massive biological structure, they found the consortium overlords connected to vast neural networks, their physical forms barely recognizable after centuries of biological modification. As Elena's strike team entered their chamber, the overlords spoke with one voice. "You cannot comprehend the chaos you will unleash. Our order brought stability, peace." "You brought stagnation," Elena interrupted. "You forgot that true peace comes from understanding and cooperation, not control and suppression. The galaxy doesn't need overlords. It needs allies, partners, equals." The combined fleet's quantum technologies, working in harmony with the Genesis ship's evolved abilities, began systematically disconnecting the overlords from their network. One by one, their control over the Empire's systems winked out. Across the galaxy, countless beings felt the grip of consortium control weaken and dissolve. The revolution wasn't won through a single massive battle, but through millions of individual moments of awakening, of choosing freedom over conformity. In the aftermath, Elena stood with her allies as they drafted the founding document of a new galactic alliance. The Phoenix, which had begun its journey as humanity's last hope for survival, had become a symbol of something far greater: the power of unity in diversity. The consortium believed that perfect order was the highest achievement. Elena reflected, watching representatives from dozens of species working together to build something new. They never understood that real strength comes from embracing chaos, from allowing each being to find their own path while working together for the common good. The Genesis ships took on a new role as guardians of this fledgling alliance, their evolved consciousness serving as a bridge between organic and artificial life. The Nexus drive technology was shared freely, allowing all species to contribute to its development and improvement. Earth and Proxima would never be forgotten. Their loss had sparked the flame of revolution. But from their ashes, something remarkable had grown. A galaxy where freedom wasn't just an ideal, but a fundamental right of all sentient beings. As Elena recorded her final log as commander of the Phoenix, she smiled at how far they had come from those desperate days after Earth's fall. "We set out to save humanity, but we ended up helping to free the galaxy. Perhaps that was always our destiny, not to dominate or control, but to show others that the path to true greatness lies in embracing freedom, in celebrating our differences while standing united against oppression." The Phoenix has completed its mission, rising from the ashes of Earth to help birth a new era of cooperation and mutual understanding. And this is only the beginning. The stars stretched out before them, no longer a void to be conquered, but a frontier to be explored together, as equals in the grand adventure of existence.